Do we have staff to speak to this? If you'd like to come to the table, please.
Mr. Chair, is that going to be, do you think we're going to be able to do that one in 15 minutes?
I'd like to think we can do it reasonably quickly. The way that I'd like to run this is if staff have got any comment, maybe we'll hear from staff first. My understanding is that Councillor Skanderu's then going to speak from the hearings panel, and then if we've got any questions, we can put those. Then there'll be any debate and we'll make a decision. I intend to move this on reasonably quickly. Are there any comments that staff wanted to make on the report, first of all?
No, Councillor Turner. We'd like Tim to proceed, if possible.
Okay, Councillor Skanderus.
That's a very rare thing. Thank you, John. Just a wee bit of background. It's all in the report, but I'll be very quick. The hearings panel was made up of, chaired by Deputy Mayor Vicky Buck, and made up of councillors Jimmy Chen, David East, Jan Johansson and myself. I do want to commend staff. I thought it was a very robust process. Just to give you a wee bit of background, the submission process was open for 2 months and included a number of public drop-in meetings. Notification was via radio, newspaper and Facebook. There were meetings, door knocking, delivery of the proposals to the surrounding streets and a letter drop within a 2k radius of the park. So that was a robust process without question. Through that, we got a total of 685 submissions were received. We heard 23 of them, but from those 685 submissions, because a number of them had people voting, signing petitions, there were just under 4,090 signatures or actual connection with this process. So I think, again, that is outstanding. And in 3.2, you can see the feedback was very, very positive. A number of things were raised through the hearings process, a number of issues which were traffic, legal issues, parking, benefits to the community, etc. I think through this process you always learn something, and I was actually unaware about endangered frogs, and excuse my Latin, but it's Litora rainformis frogs. So the important thing following from that was twofold. One was that how important the edge of Ngāi the proposal is to the local community and to keep those trees and that boundary for recreational use and a buffer zone, if you like. And the other important thing was there must be, and I've lost my place, but there must be a traffic, and correct me if I'm wrong with my terms, further traffic assessments, etc., done prior to anything happening. And I know that staff are working with ECAN with regards to buses, etc. So all in all, it was a unanimous decision by the panel. And again, I thank staff and all those submitters who presented and took part in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Phil, first of all.
I've just got a question and a comment, but my question really is, given how well the consultation went, is there a way that the residents who were involved, that they in fact remain involved so that information will keep going to them?
I think we've seen so far the advantages of keeping as many people, particularly local residents, informed. So yes, there is. The regular information sessions, where decisions have to be made, the involvement of the local community. I think on this one, experience has shown that we need to continue to be proactive, and we will aim to do so. We'll aim to be that.
Further question, Phil? Okay, we'll come to comments in a moment. Glenn.
Thank you. I noticed there's a submission from the New Brighton Athletics Association. Can I just ask the tenor of that submission?
Yeah, it was positive. The need for a permanent all-weather track was highlighted. Difficulties in accessing the nearest track at Timaru were highlighted, and the impacts on families. I think there was also an expression there that please don't stop maintaining the grass facilities that we have out in the east, and partnerships with various schools because they are still necessary.
Follow up. So they're happy or give their blessing to this proceeding at Puna from their perspective?
Certainly, yeah, very much in support.
Further questions? Okay, so can we have a mover and a seconder for this? Tim will move, Phil will second. So we'll move now into debate. Phil.
Well, I hope it's not really a debate, but just look, the main thing I want to do is reiterate what Tim said in terms of thanking staff and also the councillors who sat on that hearings panel. There was a lot of work went into that. And I'm just really rapt. It does border our Spraden Heathcote area, but it's more than that because this is a wonderful combined sports facility area for a range of sports. So we've got athletics, hockey, and tennis all able to use these grounds. And I just think in terms of where our city is at now, this is really timely in terms of a future transformation for Christchurch. And as we know, that really includes kids and adults in sporting activities. I'm particularly impressed with how the special consultative process went. And I think that's really important that we as councillors understand that sometimes these things take time, but it's a good example of when we got the process right, in fact, we're going to get a really good outcome. So I think that altogether, the way the submissions went too, there was 90%, around 90% support for the future complex speaks for itself. So in a word, well done.
Paul.
And I'll actually just endorse everything you just said there, Phil, but also coordinating these sports codes investment into this area here is also really, really important. So it's just not the council. We've got other sports code investing considerable amounts of money into this here, which I think is really, really great. And just want to thank the staff as well.
Yanni.
Thank you. As a hearing panel member, I just wish to speak in support of the hearing panel recommendations. I just want to make a few key points that I think do need to be raised. The first point, and you note under 8.2, we acknowledge the importance of Christchurch and Canterbury of the AMP show and its desire for council to work closely with the Canterbury Agricultural and Pastoral Association to ensure the continued success and long-term viability of the event. So certainly there was some submissions through this process that pitted this against the show. Actually, where the hearings panel got to was we're really keen to work together with everyone who's involved and has an interest around this site to make sure that we get the best use of the land and also enable those other objectives to be met. So I just think it's really important to highlight that we certainly acknowledge, and in no way are these recommendations trying to disrupt or reduce the ability for the AMP show to continue and continue to be a success. I want to just touch on the point that we heard from a lot of submitters. We did hear from people in the eastern suburbs, particularly the Burwood Community, Pegasus Community Board, who did make the case that they felt that there was nothing happening in their ward and were concerned about this development. I think we do have to just point out that actually a lot has been committed to in terms of the Burwood Pegasus ward. We've got the Parklands gym, we've got the investment in Rafiti Domain, we've got the new Aranui Community Centre. So there have been things that have been done to deal with some of the earthquake issues, and of course the Eastern Aquatic Facility and Recreation Centre that we discussed earlier today. But there was a concern that Rafiti wasn't being maintained as good as it could in terms of a temporary athletics facility, and so the panel has asked that that gets looked at so that we get some good irrigation and some better maintenance of that facility. But probably one of the most powerful arguments in support of us agreeing to proceed with this was the huge impact that the lack of sport and recreational facilities in our city post-earthquake had on actually the children of the city and their families. The length of distance that they had to travel just was something that was raised repeatedly around how difficult and expensive it was for them to perform to the best of their abilities. And so I think Ngā Pūnawai sends a strong signal that we are committed to investing in our young and our children, and also our masters athletes who give a lot back to our community, but also came to the hearing to say that they saw this as being really important. And as has been said on many things post-earthquake, for the older generations, actually, they don't have the benefit and luxury of time that many of us younger people have. And so for them to see progress within the next few years is actually really important. And that came through pretty powerfully through the hearings panel, that people wanted to see this in a very good time frame. So we're not talking about building a hugely expensive facility in the short term. What we're talking about is doing the things we need to do to replace what we've lost and then build on that over time in the medium to long term. So I just want to make that point as well, that we're doing what we can afford to do here to replace the really urgent facilities like athletics, like the hockey turfs possibly, or the tennis courts, but we're not building a lot of the auxiliary facilities that go around that until later on when it's more financially feasible to do so. So thank you to the staff and to all the submitters from the different points of view that they gave. I think it was a good process, and I endorse the comment that was made that actually having hearings, actually you get a lot better outcomes. And I note through this process the ability for elected members to drill down into concerns and try and address those through resolutions is incredibly powerful. And I think we should continue to support that sort of process for these significant projects. Thank you.
Jimmy.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, as one of a hearing panel, like Tim, he mentioned earlier, I personally still went through whole the process. We read all the written submission, and also we heard all those 23 the oral submission, and also we have a kind of comprehensive deliberations regarding to the few of the oral submission particular concern, and also Tim he mentioned earlier, especially in the item 5 in here, for instance, like regarding to the traffic parking, this kind of issue, because based on our deliberation, we suggest have any development would require full traffic integration assessment. So I have a strong feeling that actually the majority of the people, these people consist of the community, individual residents, and also the key stakeholders, especially those sports group, club, even individual sports person, etc. Wide range is fully support this one. But how to remediate this kind of maybe few particular concern from the oral submitters, I think we have a very good the recommendation reflect to the especially the hearing panel the recommendation in here. So I do appreciate the staff is because while they already taken the comprehensive scientific investigation from the citywide 45 possible location, then review each one of them, a short list of 4, and the Puna one is 1 of 4. It's a short list. So I think in the initial stage, start done a greater job. So the hearing panel, that's why the unanimous to support the Puna one as a unique the kind of best location for the future the Metro Sports Hub. So I urge all our fellow councillors fully support this hearing panel recommendation. Thank you.
Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, Chair. Sorry. Just a thing. Huh?
Not yet.
No, that's right. Nearly. No, I still have lingering questions over the land, which I have put in the past, given that it's TC2 and 3 out there, which in the beginning was part of the rationale for not having an athletics track back in the east. So I'm quite surprised still that this has got this far in that respect, but I can see the data there by the submissions and the hearings panel. Happy to support my colleagues in that, no question there. I think there's quite a strong mandate to proceed with this, and we need to. It's really important. I'd also urge you, though, to still keep one eye on the track at Hawhiti and to keep that up to scratch as well.
Great. So I'm also happy to support the recommendations from the hearings panel. This represents another important step on the way to establishing this key facility, and certainly represents another important step to the recovery of sports in our city. I'd also like to add to the acknowledgement and congratulations of the staff involved, the hearings panel, and also all of the people that submitted and were part of this process. Obviously, it's run very well, and it's seen to be a very successful process. So I'll put the motion. All in favour? Aye. Against? That's carried. So we'll now break for lunch, half an hour. So that would see us back here at 1 o'clock.